Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Piles podcast. I am your host, Charles Lung. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jake Gloth. And Jake, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, I've got a brand spanking new podcast idea. That is not a brand spanking new idea.
Ooh.
So
is it one of the lost episodes?
One of the lost episodes?
Yeah, one of those episodes we recorded and then was lost forever through time.
No. That I already did that one. I think I only had one of those. No. So this idea, I'm stealing from the Indiana Jones universe.
Oh, it's about aliens with a crystal skull.
So as you know, I mentioned this last, I guess 2 episodes ago now.
Yeah.
That I wanted to do sort of like a Indiana Jones comedy thing.
Yeah.
And we switched off and we did the Ivan Illich thing. Mm-hmm. But I still wanted to do that, so I wrote down a podcast idea around it. So our 2 characters are Dr. Jones and George
W. Bush.
Who's really called Mac.
I'm gonna call him
now. Dr.
Bush.
Jones is not. Oh, actually, my bad. So the character's name is George. Is George Jones. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also known as Dr. Jones. Mm-hmm. With the nickname Mac.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his brother.
Now,
Jeb.
Dr. Jones is Indiana Jones's brother, who actually respects and is a good archaeologist and doesn't like to blow up tombs and such.
Yeah.
Hates his brother because of his brother's huge reputation
and the fact
his brother's good looks.
And Sean Connery likes him more. Oh, R.I.P. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery doesn't even recognize him as his son. That's how bad it is.
R.I.P. Sean Connery. Rest in peace. That man. He died, remember? It was sad.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
He's certainly less skilled than his Harrison Ford brother.
Yeah.
So he's not really a good shot. He's not good at combat.
Like, he's a skilled archaeologist. Like, he's good at smart. Recording, like, researching things and, like, dusting and stuff like that. But he can't, like, get in a fist fight.
No. So he does his job right, as you said. Mm-hmm. He knows how to, not destroy tombs and, actually go in and be a decent archaeologist. And he's a very smart person. Yeah,
he doesn't, fuck over native peoples all the time.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a lot like, actually, Sean Connery in The Last Crusade. Mm-hmm. How he was kind of, more focused on the intellectual process than what's going on around him.
Yeah.
And he's also a feminist. Because as we know, Indiana Jones is a big sexist.
He's a big old sexist.
And womanizer. So I decided to make Dr. Jones a big feminist. Mm-hmm. He's very supportive
of women's rights.
And very kind and sweet person.
Is he effeminate or is he just like a gentle soul?
No, he's a feminist, not a feminist.
No, I know, but I'm saying, is he effeminate as a person?
No.
Or is he no?
He's kind of just a lot like Dr. Jones, like Henry Jones. I guess that's also Indiana Jones' name. He's a lot like Sean Connery.
Yeah, but Sean Connery doesn't like him. You remind me too much of your mother. She was a whore.
I don't think he says that. I think he said he loved his wife and he was sad when she died. I don't think he said that. But his sidekick is partner, I guess is a better word, because she carries the weight of the group. Her name is Marilyn Allen. Her middle name is Mary, and they call her Mary because it's shorter than Marilyn, because that's wrong. Yeah. Or that's long. She's a crack shot. Mm-hmm. She's good with people. And she's sort of a love interest for George, but that's not going to be super developed till later, I don't think. They're just sort of friends.
Maybe George is not interested in her at all.
I feel like George is overly concerned of being like his brother. So he does not catch any signals at all.
Yeah. And
so he's very I don't know, he's very delusional and I guess delusional. He just doesn't notice shit. He's very...
Yeah, he's not a people
somewhere
person.
Else. No. He's very into his work. He's sort of devoted to archaeology and doesn't really care too much about people.
And Indiana Jones, what's his name? What's his actual name?
Henry Jones.
He copied all of his papers
Yeah, so like it's really.
They went to the
I was
same
sort of gonna get
college and
into.
stuff.
Yeah, and then like you know how Indiana Jones is a professor at a university.
Yeah.
So they're both professors at that university,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone always takes Indiana Jones's classes.
Yeah.
But Indiana Jones is like always away, so George has to like sub in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's always subbing in. He basically does all of Indiana's work all the time. That's where where the hate grows even more, even from childhood, because he's always doing his brother's work.
Yeah. I like this so far. I'm digging it.
Okay, and so the pilot opens like with a very similar thing to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that tomb, except he like goes in slowly, and he like disables all the booby traps. He's got a whole team with him.
Yeah.
And he's like going through, dusting the place, and like being like, "Oh, look at the way this rock is carved over here. Like this is so amazing." And he's like pointing out all the different like things in the walls, like the spears and
his crew's
stuff like
safety is like his #1 concern. He's
Yeah,
like,
and he's,
you
like,
remember
being super
everyone, the living are more important than the dead. I don't want anyone getting hurt on this adventure we're going on.
Yeah, maybe it's like a school trip. So like he has like his students with him, and they're like going through, and like they get up to like a booby trap. One of them's like, "Oh, I think this is a booby trap." And he's like, "You've been taking too many of Indiana's classes. There's no real booby traps in these tombs. It's way too old.
Yeah,
like, the wood's rotted." And he like steps on like the stone to activate the trap, and then just nothing happens.
Yeah,
like, see,
it's
like
just like
the wood's
dust,
gone.
Dust puffs out.
Yeah.
He's like that, and excuse me, sir, we don't use that language over here in my class. Booby, excuse me. Thank you.
And they get all the way to the end of the tomb, and it's like a similar thing where it's like the gold sort of object or artifact or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so he gets there, and he's like, "Oh, like this is amazing." Like they like don't touch it, they leave it in its place, and he's like, now at this point, what you don't want to do is you don't want to take this and leave and bring it back to America, because that's stealing. Okay, a good archaeologist does not do that, because we're in a different country. It belongs to that country. If anything, it should go to their museums.
Yeah, he's like the most woke guy in the 40s.
Yeah, he's like this would be horrendous if he would do something like that.
Yeah. Or maybe they pick it up to bring it back to the museum. And they're like, "All right, everybody, hug the back wall." And he picks it up and moves back, and the boulder just rolls. And like rolls and falls down a pit in front of them, but it misses all of them, because like that was always something that was in my head. Like,
oh, if he just stayed where it was.
Yeah, if he just moved, like, if he went around the backside of the idol, picked it up, and just stepped back against the wall, the boulder wouldn't have fucking rolled over him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. And then I want to cut like throughout it to some students at the way back of the line who were talking about like, "Oh, god damn it, I thought we were taking."
I saw
Dr. Jones's class.
When I saw Dr. Jones on the thing, I was like, "Oh man, he's so hot," or whatever. I was gonna write, "I love you."
It's two girls or something, and like, yeah, like, "Oh, I thought it was gonna be the other Dr. Jones. We got this guy instead. This is ridiculous."
And he hears them, and
class
he's like,
is just not cool at all. We're learning like all this
archaeology stuff.
Yeah. And so at the end of the episode, though, he's gonna get hired accidentally. So he's going to be in Indiana's office correcting his papers for him while Indiana's gone. And somebody's going to come and be like, "Indiana," or like, Dr. Jones, is that you? And he's going to be like,
Yes.
"Yeah, I'm Dr. Jones." And you're like, "Oh, God, we've heard so much about you, all your work with like, the Ark and everything." He's like, "Oh, thank you."
They don't bring up anything specific. Yeah. They're just like, "Thank you. You know what? I work really hard, and I like when it's appreciated. Nice to meet you. Put her there. My name's Dr. Henry Jones, the third." He doesn't say the third part. Their names are all Henry.
Dr. George Jones, but he just says Dr. Jones. They don't know that he's, they think it's Indiana. Obviously, they're like, "Okay, we really like you to get on this expedition. We're trying to find Troy." And he's like, "Oh my God, I've done immense research in that subject. I think this would be really great." And he's like, "Okay." And then he accepts the job. He calls up his partner.
What's her name again?
Marilyn Allen. Mary Allen. I don't know actually. Should he call her up? Like they already know each other, or should he meet her?
I thought I think it would be good if like he gets there, and he's like this bumbling professor, and they're all like expecting this suave, cool, badass archaeologist, and he just gets there. It's like, I've been doing all this research on the plane, and she has to like, she was expecting like a big hunky, you know, badass dude, and a Harrison Ford type, and she just gets this like nerd, and like all of her expectations are completely tempered. She's like, I have to take care of this fucking dork all day.
Immensely let down, and she feels like she needs to help him out. And so the show is going to be about finding Troy, and the goal is to find Achilles' heel. That's the big find that they're looking for. Because it's, and then there's a thought that like Achilles' heel will make you invincible if you find his heel. And so they sort of run into like the Nazis. The Nazis are also looking for Achilles' heel, because that's the classic Indiana Jones villain.
Yeah. The classic villain of humanity. The Nazis, some would say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. And so they sort of come into confrontation with the Nazis throughout the season, like fighting over trying to get the heel. And Marilyn obviously is doing the heavy lifting with the fighting.
Yeah.
And Dr. Jones kind of just like, he helps out every once in a while because he like, maybe they're backed into a corner and he finds like the secret passageway out.
Yeah.
By like pulling something. But she's the one with the gun shooting the Nazis.
She's the one, like, she doesn't have a whip. What kind of weapon should she have?
I was just gonna make her have like a gun.
Like 2 guns?
A rifle.
We have to give her like her own signature badass.
I feel like,
weaponry.
okay, let's give her a long rifle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a bolt action rifle. And then she can have
2 sawed-off
like
shotguns.
2. Okay, maybe a sawed-off shotgun. Yeah, we'll go with the sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah. She does the flippy thing like in RoboCop.
Oh, maybe she has like a double-barrel shotgun and a rifle, so she has them both slung across her back. I feel like that would look cool.
And like she gives him like the weeniest gun on the planet.
Yeah, he has like a really small like snub nose revolver that has like 4 rounds in it.
And like she doesn't tell him, but she only gave him blanks.
Yeah. And when he like feels like he's doing something, he's like, "Oh, I think I got one," and she like smiles and looks at him like, "Oh, that's cute."
Yeah. Good job, buddy. Yeah.
Maybe we could have a joke later on where he accidentally shoots her with a blank. He's like, "What happened? Like, where did I accidentally shot you and you're fine. Where'd the bullet go?" She's like, gotta break it. Maybe she makes up some explanation like,
I dodged it.
Maybe it jammed or something.
I dodged it. I'm just that quick.
Or she pulls out a bullet and it's like, oh, I see, I caught it. And he's like, whoa, so cool.
And maybe the end of the series is they find Achilles and he's perfectly intact because everything is like completely immortal except for his heel. And they're just like, they have a completely intact ancient Greek person. They're like, oh, they don't have his fucking heel. And they push him in a river.
Wow, okay. I was thinking, I like that. And I want to hear what your opinion is on either that or this, which is the Germans, like, so they do all the work and they get the heel, and the Germans take it from them. And there's like the big scene where like they get the heel and the guy's like, the head German guy, whatever his name's gonna be, is gonna have the heel and be like, I'm invincible, I'm a god, and then Mary just shoots him and he dies. Like, did you think that would actually work? Like,
yeah, it's a dead guy's heel. It's a dead Greek heel. What the fuck are you talking about? Maybe it's like they lose it and they like get the heel stolen from them and it's given to Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And Hitler's like, I am truly invincible. And he keeps it on him at all times. And he's like, I just want to test if I'm truly invincible. And he shoots him.
That'd be a great way to end the show. Hitler just shooting himself in the head.
Yeah. Like, this is a fucking idiot. Of course not. It's a heel of a dead Greekman.
Or we could have like a scene where it's like the end of World War II. And Hitler like walks outside to the Russians. He's like, I will take on all of you at the same time. He has like a gun. Yeah. And then like a Russian tank just blows him up.
Yeah, just like the end of Last Jedi.
Yeah, all
of them fire at once. So he just turns into goo.
Yeah, so that was
I think solid pitch. I am enjoying that pitch. I think it would be good to end with like a subversion of the magical artifact trope.
Yeah, so it just doesn't work at all.
Yeah, Indiana Jones is always like the magical artifact works exactly as he expects it to. Even the Holy Grail, which is silly.
Mm-hmm.
Even the fucking alien skull that's magnets or whatever. I barely remember that fucking movie. But I think it would be smart to, like, the Nazis are spending all this time trying to get this magical artifact because they think it'll increase their power tenfold and make them completely invincible. And,
it doesn't work.
He's just constantly being like, he's like, all of the crew who are helping him along and everyone who's with him is constantly saying like, oh man, this is really gonna change the tide of the war and everything. He's like,
it's not gonna work. What are you talking about?
It's just a guy's heel. It's mummified. We have a mummified heel. It's like a pork chop. It's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna be there for science and history purposes. And then maybe constantly like predicts future events that are always right, and people are like, "That's ridiculous."
He's like, honestly, I don't think the Germans have a chance in this war.
Yeah,
I think the U.S. will probably get involved in another 3 years, and Russians. I mean, they've got the manpower. They'll probably come back. And I can't see the Nazis gonna have a strong chance.
I think the problem, you know what I think's gonna end this war. A really big bomb. No, 2 really big bombs. And they're not going to drop them on Germany. I feel like Germany's going to give up first. Japan, that's who we got to worry about.
And he's like, yeah, I'd probably do, if I was going to do it, I'd probably drop it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You don't want to do Tokyo. Probably could drop some firebombs on Tokyo. And they're like, what?
That's ridiculous. Are you fucking stupid?
This guy's insane.
We drop it on Hong Kong, the major city in Tokyo, the major city in Japan. It's like everyone who's in their crew just has no fucking
idea. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's Hong Kong, Japan, it's all the same. Because that's how people were back in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or maybe maybe the show starts like right before World War II. Really kicks off. It's like, that Hitler guy, I got some bad feelings about him. You know who I'm worried about? Italy. They're like, oh, don't be a sissy.
I know. I couldn't imagine that they would do anything. We had the World War I. They wouldn't.
No, of course not. That's ridiculous. All right. Well, I
have one more thing I would like to say.
Sorry.
About the show.
Oh.
So when the show is like the last scene of the season, I want George to come back to the university all excited, waiting for praise and appreciation, and he gets none. He's like surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because everyone thinks the other Indiana Jones did everything he did. He thinks Indiana Jones did it, and they're like, oh, like what? No, you didn't do any of that. Also, you got a lot of papers to grade. Indiana's out again, so apparently he went straight from Troy to like
to
fucking Burma,
Israel,
or something.
I don't know where the Ark of the Covenant is in that movie.
Ark of the Covenant? No, it's not in Israel. It's in Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt. Well, it's not in anywhere because it's not. We don't know.
Oh well, yeah, I guess. Maybe he's like walking through the hallways and like he can hear people saying like, "Oh, did you hear what Dr. Jones did? Like, oh my God, like the city of Troy." And he's like smiling, walking through, and he sits down in his office, and like the dean comes in. He's like, "Where have you been? I can't believe you're like a complete disgrace. You have all these papers due. You missed so many classes. And why can't you be more like your brother who like is doing all these great things? I mean, did you hear he was just out in Troy? He got Achilles heel for the museum." He's like, "But that was me." I'm like, "No, don't. I don't
lie to me. I swear to Christ. Stop trying to suckle off of your brother's success. You're pathetic. You know what? You're fired. Get out."
He fires it. He walks out, and you have that like same scene at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Indiana Jones walked down the steps with Marion, but it's with Marilyn Allen, and she's like sort of comforting him as he's like crying walking down the steps. She's like sort of patting him on the head and rubbing his back, like, "Oh, I'll be okay. Come on." I'll buy you ice cream. He's like, I'd like that.
Should I just change my name? I feel like you should change my name. What would you change it to? Achilles? I don't know.
Just sort of whimpering and crying as he leaves.
And then the end of it is they get a new assignment. The end of the season, they get a new assignment in the mail. And it's like, yeah, this was recently rejected by Indiana, so why don't you take a look at it? And it's like some mummy shit or something. I don't know.
You can start off season, if there is a season 2. I don't have any ideas for that. You could start off the season with him like in like a dark room, all the lights are off, with like a bottle of alcohol, like crying, and then he hears someone knocking, like, who is this? He like comes to the door in like a bathrobe, and he's like obviously in distress, and it's the person trying to give him like a new assignment.
Yeah, he takes the gun from the first season, he cocks it, he puts it to his head, and he pulls the trigger.
It's just when they're playing.
He's like, bang, bang. What the fuck? God damn it. And that's when the knocking starts. He's like, nothing fucking works here. I feel like it would be good to end at least one season with Indiana is like taking credit for another one of his adventures, and just George just knocks him right the fuck out, like whacks him once in the face. Because I'm imagining you don't see Indiana Jones throughout the entirety of any of the seasons.
Yeah.
And then just once, like the end of one season or episode, he's there. He's just like, you see his back and you see the hat, and he's walking with a swagger through. And he says, hey George, how's it going? Did you hear about Troy? And he just like hits him right in the fucking nose and like sends him on the ground. Like, that would be good. Character development. He's a little whimpering bitch.
Yeah, I guess that'd have to be pretty late though. Maybe Marilyn punches Indiana Jones in the face.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'd be happy with that too.
All right,
cool.
That's my show, Charles.
Well, thank you. I think that was a good idea for a television program. I would watch it. I would name it Indiana Jones with a question mark at the end. Well, thank you to Jake for presenting his idea and editing the podcast. We appreciate it. We all love it. We give you big kisses. And thank you, our loyal and lovely listener, for listening to the podcast, listening to our ideas and our ramblings as we babble on about nonsense and Indiana Jones and George W. Bush and stuff like that. Thank you. Have a good night. This has been the Very Reasonable Pilot podcast. I've been your host, Charles Lung. With me, as always, has been my co-host, Jake Gloth. You can find us on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us wherever good podcasts are released, probably. Yeah. We're on SoundCloud. We're SoundCloud rappers. No, we're not. No. What are we on? We're on Stitcher, probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of things. Basically, anywhere you can get a podcast.
Anywhere you can get a podcast, type VRP into it, and you'll find us, maybe.
You probably won't. Make sure you type VRP podcast.
Yeah, make sure you just Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. Just make sure you type out the whole thing. Also, if you're listening to this, you already probably know how to find it. So thank you for your listening. Give us a like. So. Give us a subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. And ring that bell if you're on YouTube. Leave a comment. Tell us what adventure should George W. Jones go on next in the next season.
George H.W. Jones. George H.W. Jones.
George H.W. Jones. Should he go to Tibet and try and find the lost city of, I can't remember what's the Shangri-La? Should he go to Italy and try and find some pizza pie?
Yep, that's what it is. Thanks, Charles. Bye, everyone.
Bye.